Hi, and welcome to this video where we're going to have a look at the definitions of R&D with respect to the R&D Tax Incentive. My name is Eric Anderson and I'm from grandcentral.com.au. The information in this video is applicable to both the 2012-13 financial year as well as the 2013-14 financial year. Let's just go over some of the issues with the R&D tax. There are a couple of key points that you need to consider before you apply for the R&D tax incentive. It is a self-assessment process, so you make the decision whether you're eligible for the R&D or not. If the answer is yes, the process then consists of identifying core R&D activities and supporting R&D activities. So let's start with the definition of core R&D. Core R&D activities are experimental activities whose outcome cannot be known or determined in advance on the basis of current knowledge, information, or experience, but can only be determined by applying a systematic progression of work that is based on principles of established science and proceeds from hypothesis to experiment, observation, and evaluation, and leads to logical conclusions, and that are conducted for the purpose of acquiring new knowledge, including knowledge or information concerning the creation of new or improved materials, products, devices, processes, or services. To determine whether you've been undertaking core R&D activities, you need to ask yourself the following questions. Was an experiment or set of related experiments carried out? Could the outcome of the experiment have been known or determined in advance? Did the experimental activities employ the scientific method? And was the purpose of the experiment to generate new knowledge? If the answers to all those questions is yes, then you're probably undertaking core R&D. But let's have a look at all of these questions in more detail. Firstly, was an experiment or set of related experiments carried out? Experiments involve tests being undertaken to investigate a proposition about something unknown or the effectiveness of something previously untried. They may take place in a range of settings, from a separate laboratory to a normal production run. As industry will expect when you register these activities, that you describe the experimental activities that your company undertook. The second question, could the outcome of the experiment have been known or determined in advance? The definition requires that the outcome of the experiments could not have been known or determined in advance on the basis of current knowledge, information, or experience. This requirement will not be satisfied if experiments merely confirm what is already known, or the outcome of the experiments or how to achieve that outcome in practice could be deduced or determined by a competent professional in the field on the basis of current knowledge, information, or experience. When we talk about current knowledge, information, experience, it refers to what is available in the public arena on a reasonably accessible worldwide basis at the time the activities were conducted. This gap in the current knowledge is often referred to as the knowledge gap. You should be able to indicate how your company established that the outcome could not have been known or determined in advance. For example, you may have sought advice from an independent expert or conducted literature searches. Probably the most popular one that I see is doing Google searches, but remember, you need to do these Google searches at the time that you start the experiments. Third question, did the experimental activities employ the scientific method? The definition requires that a systematic progression of work is employed. This work must be based on principles of established science and proceed from hypothesis to experiment, observation, and evaluation, and then lead to logical conclusions. This is the only way to really address a knowledge gap. The systematic progression of work is often referred to as a scientific method. So really just to go back, You've got to have a hypothesis, then experiment, observation and evaluation, and then logical conclusions. Scientific method is required because a knowledge gap exists and a significant level of uncertainty associated with resolving this gap. Experimentation involving less rigorous knowledge discovery and problem-solving techniques, such as trial and error, are unlikely to meet this requirement. Systematic generally means conducted in a planned way, with records kept of the process followed and the outcomes of the process. A hypothesis is a proposition about something unknown or the effectiveness of something previously untried. It can be an idea, theory, or fact about something which is unknown or untested. When describing the experiments, you'll be asked to indicate how the scientific method was applied. The fourth question is, was the purpose of the experiment to generate new knowledge? Experimental activities must be conducted for the purpose of generating new knowledge or information. This includes new knowledge in the form of new or improved materials, products, devices, processes, or services. The knowledge sought needs to be more than just a simple progression of what is already known or applying existing knowledge in a different context or location. As part of the application process, companies should indicate the new knowledge that was generated. Along with the core R&D activities, there will be supporting R&D activities. These activities are activities directly related to core R&D activities. However, if an activity is an activity referred to in the core R&D activities exclusion list, or produces goods or services, or is directly related to producing goods or services, the activity is a supporting R&D activity only if it is undertaken for the dominant purpose of supporting core R&D activities. That was a short overview of the definitions as it applied to the R&D Tax Incentive. If you have any or would like any further information, please contact me on the following contact details. I look forward to seeing you in the following video.